Change is our constant companion, but it can be an ally if you let it be.
Hello and welcome back to Change and the Market, your weekly look at the changing real estate market. I'm your host, Brian, joined as always by our other host, Mr. Chris Masiello. Chris, how are you doing today?
Brian, good to be with you. Good to be with everyone in our community.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it, Chris. How have things changed in the market over the past week?
Yeah, interesting week. I think a continuation a little bit of what we talked about last week. So, we're talking, I think, about cycles now, right? And the cycle for the raising of interest rates is coming to an end. The Federal Reserve meets today. They might raise rates another quarter of a point, just as more maybe of a face-saving measure. However, I think with what's happening with some instability in the banking system and all that, you'll start to see the Fed start to roll rates back. So I think now, we've been coming out of like this 1 year rate increase cycle. I think we're going to be going into a rate decrease cycle. And, just to cover what we were talking about last week, when we talk about the Federal Reserve, when they raise rates, they're really not raising rates directly on the consumer. They're raising rates on the banks as they borrow money from the Federal Reserve. So the cost of borrowing for the banks has gone up, which then, of course, gets passed off to the consumer. But what's happened is you just had the soup of stock market going down and bank stock, because if you're a publicly traded bank, the value of your bank actually went down because the stock market went down. And then all of a sudden it's costing you more money to borrow, and now you're having to pay out higher interest rates on the cash deposits you have on hand. So I think the aggressiveness of the Federal Reserve in raising interest rates, it's been a big question mark for a lot of us. Like, well, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I think it's coming home to roost that it really hasn't made a lot of sense. I think we're going to start to see that get peeled back. So what does that mean for us, right? I think what it means for us is that we'll see a better interest rate environment. And it's interesting how markets behave, because what we're seeing is greater affordability, because prices haven't gone up as much. They haven't gone down. But in 19, 20, and 21, we had 20% increases in pricing, or 15 to 20%, depending on the market. And that's not really sustainable. So in this last year, as rates went up, in one way, because rates went up, it affected affordability. But in this other way, which always fascinates me how markets react, is that housing appreciation was down in the low single digits. And that I think has become enough of a breather for the marketplace for affordability. So now we've got a year where we took kind of a break from double-digit appreciation, and now interest rates are coming down. And I think, just like what you and I have been talking about in recent weeks, this market's going to take off like a shot. Multiple offers, depending on the property, depending on where you are, we're still seeing multiple offers. I think they're going to come back to being a thing soon. And, I think we'll see more inventory on the market because I think for a seller, interest rates come down. If you're a seller, you have to replace what you're selling in most cases. So now it's a matter of people I think can start to see the window based on a lower rate environment and a little bit better pricing, not because pricing's gone down, but because of the fact that we just haven't had as much appreciation in the last 14 months, 15 months, something like that.
So it kind of sounds like what you're saying to me, at least, that we're heading into some uncharted territory here, which I think brings us to our final topic, which is going to be, what is your advice for everybody this week about this uncharted territory?
Well, this is really uncharted territory. It's kind of exciting that way. Of course, I'm a little bit of an oddball when it comes to change, so I like it. It is uncharted territory. And one of the things, I was just doing some research last night before a call, in prep for the call. Out of all the home sales in the United States, right, like in the last 12 months cycle, right, there's been 4.6 million home sales. Only 2% of them were foreclosures. Huh. And there was all this like hype. Well, I'm going to wait until the housing market's going to crash, and then I'm going to buy a foreclosure cheap. And that I think that speaks to me about really how resilient this housing cycle is. And so this is all change. And I think what we can kind of take away from an environment like this is that it's a pretty good reminder that change is our one companion that's with us all the time, never takes a break. It is glued to our hips. And just when you think that something's not possible or you've never seen something before, well, here you go. Just to reverse that on you, right? Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised because change is our constant companion. But it can be an ally if you let it be. And I think when you're taking a look at, so where were we a year ago? Gee whiz, rates are going up. This is awful, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened? Well, we got a pause in the market. Affordability now has gotten to be able to build up. There's pent up demand. It's a healthier environment. Rates will start to roll back. We're already seeing rates predominantly now are under 6. We'll be probably mid to low 5s in another, 30 days, something like that. And so if we let it, change could be, a really positive influence on us if we don't resist it too much.
Absolutely. Love the optimistic vibes you're putting out this morning, Chris. Absolutely good stuff. Great advice as always. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Change and the Market. If you're enjoying our show, make sure you follow us or subscribe to us on whatever platform you're watching or listening. Make sure you join us back here next week for another brand new episode of Change and the Market.
All right, folks. Have a great week. Take care.